So, wow, what an amazing evening we've had with incredible speakers looking at everything from literally the beginning of time to the beginning of time. The beginning of time for Aboriginal people, anyway, and our ability to stand up and have our voices heard at the table. I'm going to bring it back to like the land and decolonization, and because the work that I do is on the land, it's part of the land. I'm mostly known as an Indigenous plant diva, but I'm really a food security queen at heart, and my love for Mother Earth is vast, and I always feel honored with the teachers I've had in my path. In many regards, not just my spiritual teachers, not just my parents, my community and such, but I think about, the people that have really helped me learn to love that earth in the right way. And I always try to make that infectious on people. One of my teachers who's from California, who's actually, by the way, right away was on the Idle No More movement, she actually, for her profile pic, she had Teresa Spence's picture for about 3 weeks, and she was encouraging people across the States to get into that, and I was like, wow, I love this. And this morning my mom was like, oh, have you heard of this Idle No More movement? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I have. So like what everybody's saying is really exciting, and it brings me back to 18 years ago when the Zapatistas were rising up, and close to 20 years ago when we watched that movement, and that movement continues to grow. Part of my commitment to Mother Earth and my love for Mother Earth is really connected in with the Zapatistas, not just because I was on the Caravan of Peace in 2002, but because I love political vacations, I go into crazy places to hang out. What I loved when I was there was like, it's just what we're seeing here in this movement of like, what people were talking about, elders bringing up the subject of this movement and what it's all about. Because on that Caravan of Peace, some of the amazingness that I saw were like, we'd be out in the countryside on our buses and traveling through and stop and do these speeches with the Zapatistas, and then and just the stuff that would like make my skin like tingle and just would drive me were like looking out in the fields and seeing these elderly grandmothers with their pitchforks, and they're working the land, and they see the Zapatistas and they throw their stuff, they're running and they're pulling cameras out of their aprons that they're wearing in the fields, and they're taking pictures, and I'm like, whoa, this is amazing, like just how the power of of that movement has lifted people up. And just, at that point it was the digital revolution, so everybody had a camera, like even the elder in the field, right? So, but what was great is that we look at even like what JB was talking about, what social media has done. Like social media is what put the Zapatistas on the map, and they are they really led the way on many Indigenous movements, bringing us to that place of understanding our commitment to our love of this earth. And that's, the Zapatista movement was about the corn, it was about the land, it was about the food, and it was like a bunch of women fighting for their lives, right? It doesn't sound that much different than Idle No More. So, my passion for it is great. I was, completely like excited when I heard the momentum that was building across this country, and thinking about, we all need to have a part in saying what is happening to this earth. We can't, we can't just be farming, we can't just be gardening, we can't just be riding our bikes, we can't just be, bringing our mug to the event kind of thing. We have to do more, and I think that's what the exciting part of Idle No More is about. But getting back to my teacher and just talking about why I want to talk about one of my medicine teachers, whose name coincidentally is Harvest. It's a great name for an herbalist to have, since that's what you spend most of your time doing. But she's really inspiring and encouraging, and our relationship grew through me buying a book in the Union of BC Indian Chiefs bookstore like many, many years ago, and then making a video of it, of a story in there, and then starting this dialogue with this woman about traditional teachings and medicine, and we continue, like we're completely sisters. We were so excited when Facebook finally hit because it was a lot easier to communicate. But why I'm talking about her is that a few years ago we started a dialogue about just talking about the earth and talking about, because we're garden fanatics and we love to grow things, and we were just talking about how a lot of people don't even understand the difference between dirt and soil, and how in order to grow the food that we want, we actually have to start decolonizing our soil. We have to start at the base, and that's, you know, when we look at the forest and the trees and the mountains and the interconnectedness, that mycorrhiza, that under the earth web that connects all living things in our beautiful world, in our forests. And we think about how does that feed itself? How before humans were things being fed? And I mean, I just have to walk even into Stanley Park off a trail and see shells on the ground, and I know, okay, well, the birds and other animals are doing their work. They're fertilizing the earth. They're making sure there's nutrients in there. And it's just these little things that it just starts with those shells. It starts with compost. It starts with a few things, you know, just building that soil. And through building that soil, there are so many metaphors of building resistance. And again, why I talked about the Zapatistas is that I grow corn from the Zapatistas. So I feel really connected from all those years that I spent going back and forth, working with communities in resistance and thinking about what can I do to make a difference in my home. And what I've done is start a garden and a kitchen program. Well, I didn't actually start it, and I had the great idea. I can't take credit because it was a bunch of elders who were unemployed, and I wasn't unemployed. I was overemployed, but still underemployed financially. But, you know, I looked at these elders and I'm like, why did they start this? Why did they start the kitchen? Why did they start the garden? Because the simple, you know, idea that they were terrified for their children. Because I'm going to get to a serious note here, and in the work that I've done, a lot of people say, oh, it's really great that you're saving these indigenous species. So last year, when we were going to accept our Van City Environmental Award, like everybody was up there talking about all the native species they saved, and I got up and I talked, and it really hit me by the time I got up there. I said, well, the native species we're saving are the youth in our community, and that's why the elders started the program that we started, because they were completely getting disconnected. And the serious part I'm going to talk about is that, like, our youth take their lives. Either their lives are taken from them through gang involvement or, you know, through criminal activities that they're forced into doing because we're not getting jobs. So the other thing that happens, some of those youth that take their lives, they take them off the bridge. They jump off the Lionsgate Bridge, and it's just right there because it's the closest escape out of their dismal reality. And that's another reason, again, why I went back to what I want to talk about, you know, decolonizing the soil. It starts there, by the things that we do, the simple acts that we do to care for the earth right at our footsteps is helping us commit ourselves every day to the bigger picture of stopping the tar sands and stopping the pipeline, all these things. Like it does literally start at your doorstep. It starts with you composting. It starts with, you know, you getting along with your neighbor and sharing that compost bin or whatever it takes, right? The land is what this whole movement is about, and it's what most of these social movements are about in the social justice scene across the world. And when you see people fighting and getting political and being called terrorists and activists, well, we're the ones out there just trying to protect the earth because we have the silly idea, notion that it might be nice for our children in the future to know what fresh water tastes like, to know what fresh air feels like to breathe in. Silly, but you know, and it does really start with that. And we really, I mean, if somebody in here isn't composting, bloody well get on with it, okay? Just do it. Let's do it. My daughter does it. She fought with me all her life till she did a composting course. Now she tells me how to compost. So it's that good. It's that exciting, and it's that easy. You start with the simplicity of waste management, because what in the end are we trying to get rid of? We're trying to get rid of waste, which is the tar sands, which is, you know, the evil dream that Harper has. It all is very toxic. So living our lives as clean as we can, as simply as we can, whatever we can do, carpooling, walking, whatever, like I said, make it your commitment. If you're, you know, do a personal checklist. What are you doing to make sure that your commitment to the future is there? Put it in check, because you're the only one that knows. Like, I have to check in with myself all the time. I'm not perfect, and I've been at this for years. Like, my parents forced me to recycle as a kid, so I kind of laughed when I moved into the house I'm in now. My landlord's like, if you don't recycle properly, I'm gonna totally kick you out. And I'm like, oh my God. You so don't know my dad. Like, he forced me to recycle everything, like exactly the right way. You know, so it's just like, it seems funny sometimes when we think of those simplicity elements of our lives, but really we need, if we're going to be active on the bigger scheme, if we're going to get out there and commit ourselves, start at home. Start with what you can at home. It makes a big difference, and it will change the world forever. I know that. I believe that.